One thing that oftentimes people forget about is the use of hair fibers. These hair fibers are basically ways to camouflage thinning hair for someone that either can't have hair transplant, or someone like after a hair transplant, they're getting some temporary shedding and they need something to camouflage that time, or they've had a hair transplant and they need further help and they just either are not safe candidate to do more surgery, or they could just be too young for surgery. And these are all the reasons why hair fibers are a great, inexpensive way to help with camouflaging hair loss. The way that hair fibers work is simply that these small fibers are attached to the hair follicle, usually through an electrostatic charge, and also just through contact, they're just the presence being there on the hair, near the hair. Also, they can sort of drift over the scalp and also further improve camouflage so you don't see the scalp. The hair fibers, the biggest negative of hair fibers is that if you go to sleep with them, sometimes they get on your sheets, so you should wash them out on a daily basis. For those who don't shower every day or shower at night, they may not like the idea that they have to do so to get rid of the fibers that are in their scalp still. I worked on developing my own hair fibers a few years ago for a few reasons. One is hair fibers are very expensive, especially if you get larger quantities of it. So I cut out the middleman. I was able to develop my own hair fibers that have that beautiful electrostatic charge, and they also eliminated all of the chemicals in the product. Topic, for example, TOPPIK has tons of chemicals. If you just Google Topic and chemicals, you'll see how many chemicals. I developed one that's all natural, that has less of an issue for skin reaction and long-term safety. The other benefit of these hair fibers is that, as I mentioned, they're less expensive. I also developed a hair fiber that is finer. So a lot of hair fibers out there look very coarse and chunky. These are very, very fine, so they drift and bind to the hair very naturally. I also use a atomizer that allows the best distribution of the hair fibers across the scalp. So you can shake it directly onto the scalp, but I find that the human hand shaking it on the scalp does not create the same even distribution of the product as the fine mister that I have. The mister gently goes across that area very well, especially in the hairline. When you're dealing with the hairline, sometimes you put it on there and it spills all over the front of the forehead. By using the mister that I have, it allows it to be directed at just behind the hairline, so it looks very natural, and it's a very easy gradation as well. It makes it a little bit easier also to make an even application into the crown area, because sometimes you can't see it, you're just over caking it on there, which doesn't look good. Also, I have a product that binds the product to your scalp, to the hairs, so that if it rains outside, medium to light rain, you sweat at the gym, it doesn't come out. So hair fibers are really effective. And as I mentioned earlier, one big indication for me is that women after a surgery can have some shedding, and sometimes the shedding may be more significant in nature. And I do a lot of females, probably about 30 or 40% of my patients are actually women. And so when they're shedding, they get very, sad and upset. The hairs do come back, but during that first few months, the hair fibers are a great way to help compensate for any of that temporary shedding. The other indication for women in particular, or even men that are wanting to do this, is that if they don't have time or the cost to go and get their hair colored, let's say they're showing gray roots, you can easily use the hair fibers to cover your gray roots, and it's a great way to bridge yourself between hair coloring sessions. So let's say you get your hair colored every 6 weeks or so, and between those times, the gray hairs are starting to show up. You can just cover those roots until you get your next coloring session. And that can actually save you quite a bit of money. Sometimes you can go even longer by just using that to cover your roots. So these are things that you may not have thought about hair fibers, but this is just a short podcast to talk to you about how I use hair fibers, what kind of hair fibers I prefer, and why. And my hair fibers are called SL Max, by the way.